do like it.
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Welcome to the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. It's round 4, and after last week's shenanigans and entertainment in the wildcard round, we're back to our usual GT3 machines, and it's at a brand new and shiny circuit in the form of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, recently added and updated on iRacing. See how that goes. Not that long since the Indy 8-hour was in the real world. Maybe we'll channel some of that spirit. First up is Pass 2, our juniors, if you will, before we get into the big Pro-Am split later on. David Haynes and Nick Skariev with you. Nick, we're both pretty well fans of some of these American road courses, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely there, Dave. I actually haven't seen the new Indy layout there. You can see Barney there just having a nice good look out into the distance there towards that last turn, just as it kind of comes on, kind of pushes out onto the banking past that start finish straight. So yeah, it'd be good to have a good look. Indy's a bit of a strange track. You kind of look at it from the outside and not think much of it, but it's actually put up such incredibly good racing, especially for some of the slower classes like the Formula Vs and the MX-5s, but we are going to see something maybe a little bit quicker tonight.
Yep, exactly. So in this, the Pass 2 junior division, Aaron Obersteller leads the way from Hilton Booth and Braden Sagasar in our points standings. And you see the rest of our top 10. They are qualifying at the moment. It is all on track at once. And this is a relatively short layout of circuit as well. It's underneath 4 kilometers, so it's pretty busy out there, as you can see. This is our rolling balance of performance that sees the Audi taking a little bit of a hit to power since last round. The Ferrari is going to get a little bit back. No change to the Porsche, which fared very well in some of the earlier rounds. So I think that all just about checks out. No massive swings in power there.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see it is a bit of a power circuit, trying to big acceleration section. So you just see that Audi come down a little bit. Gee, it looks great, doesn't it, in that Drop Bear Motorsport livery coming around the back section of the circuit, even with the gold wheels. So actually haven't seen a Drop Bear Audi before, but there you go.
So it's a 10-minute qualifying session. You can see there's about 6 minutes left on the clock right now. Joshua Robertson is up top. Aaron Obersteller, though, is in second in the standings, and he is your points leader, so I'd say potentially your favourite there. He's going to pull in for a new set of tyres and realistically probably get out, do an outlap, and only have time to push on 1 or 2 more laps. Who's going quick? We're looking at Matt Hartigan. Down in 21st at the moment with no time, but the sectors so far are looking good, and it's all about just getting that traction off the final wide sweeping corner. Definitely an advantage to the rear engine Porsche. Race to where Barney is, and Hartigan is going to move from 22nd up to 8th.
Yeah, I just saw he took a lot of curb there in that late part of the race there. Simon Dwyer there over the line. Looks to be somewhere probably around about that outlap there at the moment, so he's going to have to keep that foot on the gas there. About just over 4 minutes left on the clock, so it is going to be over very, very soon. Craig Watson coming through in the Audi at the moment as well. Runs it so wide on those curbs. They kind of cut off really quickly in the grass, and you can see opening up there around that right-hand side. It's quite a short run to that line, actually.
Pretty well a 25 flat for him, so it's only about a second short of the pole time, which at the moment is a 23.996. Good number if you're a Porsche. It's Jake Jackson. Are you going to feel a little bit impeded here? You're holding back on that one. Jake Jackson has only got one more real corner, I think, to navigate.
You actually look like he jumped on the brakes earlier then to kind of avoid that draft there on the back, so potentially that might have harmed his run. Coming around though, 124.797, so still not as fast, just slightly off the pace there.
Jackson was lightning in the opening sectors of the lap there, and it might have just caught a little bit of traffic. Here's John Nicolaith in the number 73, currently sits fourth. His middle sectors have been good. There's some quick changes of direction, almost sort of 4 apexes as a pair of S's in the middle part of the circuit. And it's looking to improve, and I think he's just fallen about a 10th short. Yeah, almost exactly, just a 10th short of the improvement, despite putting in the purple final sector of the lap. So the Mercedes has got some power off the final corner and towards the line. No improvement for Craig Watson. 23 drivers at the moment on circuit, 22 of them with a qualifying time, have not seen Jack Anderson or Tony Gagliardi yet, from what I can tell.
I was just about to say there for Craig Watson though, still pretty solid effort there, so he'll be on that third row of the grid. Somewhere about, so we've got Sam Batty as well. We did see in those earlier MX5 races, last round was really right near the front. Be pushing pretty hard. Obersteller though in second place. Whether or not he can beat that, we've only got now 2 minutes left on the board. Oh, you can just see how sharp they cut that curb. Thankfully that doesn't have any of the anti-cut coating on it. And
it's flying. This is tracking to be the fastest lap we've seen so far. He's gone purple the first 2 microsectors, personal best through that part. Now he's just got to square it off this final apex and get the power down cleanly, try to keep it flat as he changes the direction back into the final right-hander. Don't get out so wide as to catch the grass. Pointing it straight to the line. He's got to beat a 23.9, and he's going to put down a 23.8 to go to the pole. Jake Jackson has gone and taken the purple first sector of the lap now, and you see this is what I'd consider sort of the middle there. He's fallen 0.3 short of his previous best, and again as well, no improvement here. So really strong through the opening couple of corners, and you can see him already, parking it, maybe looking to get one last go.
Yeah, you can see quite a few of the drivers there aborting the run, so that's going to be them done and dusted this time around there. Benjamin Johnson, though, was just in that 125, so we'll see if he can better it out there, getting a very, very small amount of draft there from the car in front.
Now, they'll get to complete the laps that they're on in this session. But for Benjamin Johnson, I think he knows his qualifying session is done. He's looking to make it a right-hand turning oval by going on long at turn 1 of the road course. We do have Jack Anderson and Tony Gagliardi out on track now, so we are looking like we'll get a qualifying time from everyone. Gagliardi's just crossed the line. Jack Anderson is about to, so that's all 25 drivers setting a time in qualifying, even if a few of them were maybe a little late to the track, a little late to the session, and Jack Anderson jumps a couple spots from where he was. Very factory livery for Hayden Jackson.
Yeah, it almost gives me feels of almost F1 safety car style. Yeah, there was a car there off on the outside, off on the inside.
Here he is stuck in the middle with you. It looks a little bit of a narrow turn into this final complex of the corners. But then he doesn't go all the way out wide, so he gets the full width of the track to turn in through the final traction zone and then hopefully keep it flat out to the line here. So you can see the time he's looking to improve on is a 28.1. No, it's not. That's his previous lap. But his best that he's looking to improve on was a 25-something. and he's gone quicker than that on the lap he's just completed. So the final lap does improve him, and he's one of the last drivers who's going to get to the line. Ben Pollock 3/4 tenths shy of an improvement there. So the Porsche, the most restricted car in class, with the power at 97% of power, but it still seems a very popular car. It still races very well, even if it doesn't always star in the qualifying. Speaking of starring in the qualifying in a second, we're going to take a peek at it. So the points leader, Aaron Obersteller, is the pole man as well, sharing the front row with Joshua Robertson. Behind them, Benjamin Johnson and Jake Jackson. Ian Jordan and John Nicolay, our top 6. Only one Porsche to feature up the front there. And Craig Watson and David Baz, Matt Hardigan. Ben Pollock, we saw not able to improve on his final lap. Completes the top 10 of the grid. Graham Filand and Zach Christie are row 6. And that's about the top half of them, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just seeing a few more names come through. I did see the Ferrari there of Aaron DeLuca. I don't think we saw too many of the Ferraris out there. We did see that earlier balance of power. Hamish Munro there in the BMW down the back. So we do see a good mix of cars, but it seems like the Audi and the Mercedes definitely the more popular.
A lot of changes of direction in this lap, actually. Turn 1 and 2 is a chicane, then they go through sort of turn 3, turn 4, there's a chicane after that. After the back straight, it's a sort of a segment of S's where the change of direction and the stability in that is important. And the same is true of the final sector as well. So there's never really just one corner on its own here. Circuit is broadly flat, but there is some curbing that's important for how the cars take that as well. So they're getting ready to all grid up and go on the pace lap. Do you want a fun little Indianapolis story?
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, I'd be keen.
So you get a great view of that famous yard of bricks right here. At racing speed, you don't much notice it. It's all pavement. You zip across it. But behind the safety car at these kind of speeds, you do feel crossing that yard of bricks. If you feel it in the steering, as literally just under a meter of bricks at full racing pace. You cross it too quickly for it to really register. But at this pace, behind the safety car, our direct drive steering wheel buddies might just get a handful of brick feedback.
It's quite nice there with that dust all off in the distance, and yeah, as we saw.
Hey, one good thing about this update as well that we've had to the road course of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the correct pit exit now in effect. You can see some of the lines for it, that they skip turn 1 and then they merge between turns 1 and 2 there, which was not the case on the old version. We are going to see our drivers work their way through that pit lane in this 25-minute race.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have seen how much that pit strategy really plays in there. You can actually see the underpass as well. I can't remember if that was in there in the previous scan. So as well as our medical cars there as well. So yeah, plenty of detail in this new update.
A lot of detail, a lot of fans. And they're on the road course bits there. So key passing opportunities, obviously turn number 1, but you can get some done here at the end of the back straight. You've got a very impressive curb that someone's just testing out, just checking it's still there. Yep, it is. It's the other curbs that like to come unbolted and free themselves.
it's only a few moments away there. You can just see everyone just picking their gaps there. It's almost really comes down to that front row on when they're going to make that lunge for that start-finish line, whether or not they go early or go a little bit later on.
So Obastella, driver's right, will have the inside in towards turn number 1. Bit of a bizarre little checkup behind them there. Joshua Robertson needs to make sure he keeps up as well. They're letting the pace car get plenty away. Pit entry, there's a big sign for it. And there it is on your right. So it will be a one-stop race here in Pass 2 to open up the evening. The simrigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. Barney's got the green. And he's going to drop it as they pass the timing tower. 25 GT3s roaring to life down towards turn number 1. They're 3 wide, just off the leaders over 5th place. Craig Watson's had a pretty marvellous jump in that Audi. He's going to get down the inside here as well. Some drivers braver on the brakes than others, but the pole sitter capitalises very, very well. It gets tight on the exit here, but no damage done for your leading 2 cars. Craig Watson got boxed back a little bit off where he initially was, so he's only up 1 position from the start here, and there's 1 or 2 cars just trying to settle in. 2 wide through the chicane here. Does that work? Somehow it just does. And Jake Jackson kicks off Benjamin Johnson. That's who we're looking at here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that big run off the line. We've had a few good movers. A few people come down there as well. Eden Jordan, as we did see, he's currently in 8th position. Was around that 5th, so not doing too well out of that start there at the moment though. But Sam Batty though did not qualify that well at all though, all up into 14th place. So there are a few movers here at the moment.
At speed across the curbs in racing conditions. It's Craig Watson. David Baz immediately behind him in the Porsche, getting a good run initially. How's the straight line speed compare? Trying to follow in the slipstream the driver in front. Porsche, of course, missing 3% of its power, which is to say about 15 horses have gone walkabout. Oh, a little half spin there from Hardigan, I think it might have been. And he's lost a couple of positions between turns 1 and turns 2.
We do see with those Porsches being that rear engine, that rear can come around on you pretty fast there. So Hardigan saving it, only losing a few positions. So I think he's about down 4th places there into 13th. So we'll be trying to make those up there at the moment. He's got Sam Batty behind him.
Filing in a very German-looking Audi, again making speed in a straight line on a couple of these Porsches in front of him. Not able to outbrake him. Contact. Nick Bottrell spears around, and so does a couple of cars pile into Bottrell. That's caused quite the kerfuffle.
Yeah, might have to cut to a replay on that if we do get the chance there. Well, we've just had gone all the way out there, so choosing to hang it out there onto that, pretty much the apron there for the oval section. So he's come back on the track though. It has cost him quite a lot of time. I think that was Hilton Booth there. As you can see, it did have some damage there on his front bar there. Oh, you can just see. Oh, and rolled back onto the track there. So yeah, not great. They really need to hold that brake. So if he jumped on the brakes a little bit quicker, would have stayed there on the grass. So unfortunately for Hilton Booth, that's pushed him all the way down there to almost dead last position. Nowhere to go, as you can see there.
Yeah, that's about that. Plenty of damage to Hilton Booth and Nick Bottrell, and a handful of other drivers who lost out big time through that, like Zach Christie, qualified 12th. It's 22nd at the moment after all of that. Now, they all start with the same amount of fuel, and it doesn't take them very long into these races at all. Typically, not much longer than 10 minutes. So around here, not much longer than 7 or 8 laps. Ash de Vries, big damage on that Mercedes GT3 Evo. And again, it's all kicked off after the back straight.
You can see them running through back part of the circuit there. We are looking there at John Gagliardi. And was De Vries there?
Another pile up. This time, how does this kick off? It's just in front of Hilton Booth again. Zach Christie. What are we about to see? Well, it's all happened a little bit further ahead of that, hasn't it? 25 is Gagliardi.
Here we are seeing Gagliardi there in the pits as well. Oh, you just see that.
69 is Tom Brown, and he's facing backwards as well.
Yeah, spinning in synchronization almost.
Oh, someone just missed the chicane.
Yeah, it has.
It's all happening. It's in terms of excitement per mile, very densely packed around the road course at the moment. This is up front where it's also densely packed and closely contested. Obersteller leading the way from Robertson. Johnson's gotten back around Jake Jackson in that third and fourth battle there, and Johnson may be looking to attack forward here. You've got John Nicolaife in the next Mercedes also in touch. Your first Porsche is still back there with David Baz. Qualified 8th, running 6th, using all the track, so hugging right up against the wall, but not hugging up against the turn 1 apex curb.
Yeah, we are seeing all these gaps there all seem to be pretty well maintained. There's about a second or so separating Obersteller to Jake Jackson, so those top 4 sitting in pretty well. Nicholas just a little bit further back there, about 7/10 or so, but you can see visually they really are starting to bunch up. This group of about 5 or 6 here at the moment.
Benjamin Johnson having a cheeky look in a place that I'm not sure you could get past. He carried a lot of speed through the tightest corner after the back straight, and then thought maybe he could get his nose somewhere. He couldn't. He's been doing very well out of the slipstream off the big Mercedes in front. Got one of the fastest speed trap speeds of all. Like Nicolaife getting a little out of sorts off the back here. Once again, Johnson and Robertson super close. He's hiding somewhere behind that rear wing. They get to the fastest part of the circuit. Always high speeds at Indianapolis. Does the Audi fancy itself good on the brakes is the question. I think the Porsches definitely fancy themselves as very strong on the brakes and very strong on the rotation from the braking phase then in towards the corner as well. Seen plenty of races in this category get decided on some of the fuel strategy as well, and knowing that if you can run a lap longer on this opening stint, you can often avoid quite a bit of traffic, save a little bit of time on the pit stop, etc., etc. So I wonder if there's at least a few here, maybe Joshua Robertson, maybe Jake Jackson, putting a little more weight on the fuel conservation right now. Johnson catches some grass on the exit there.
You can see actually just that section of the circuit, they really kind of come onto the oval and then come straight back off again. It's almost braking there around that corner though, as they straighten the car up to Mercedes though.
Drums from Nicolaife. He was in 5th. He was struggling with the balance a little bit. He'd started to drop back off the leaders, and that's the balance he's been struggling with. Not the first Mercedes we've seen just drop the rear on turn in or on mid corner. Track's not that hot. It's 25 Celsius.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that is actually Hamish Munro as well is also in the pits now as well. I think he might have been one of the cars that we saw in one of those previous incidents. Jeez, we've got Zach Christie there. Almost looked like he was traveling there in the opposite direction. A lot of damage there to the front of that BMW. Geez, on the grass again, but choosing to cut across and making that pit entry.
So a handful of drivers pitting after 6 laps. Are we going to see a lot more of the leaders after this one? Potentially. Quick laps around here, so you can get pretty flexible with the fuel. There's a chance that you could maybe save 2 laps with how often that pit lane comes back around. This is your leading 4. Pit entry is wider here, and your leader Obersteller goes for it. Benjamin Johnson follows him in, but I don't want to toot my own horn too hard. The 2 drivers I picked out carry on.
I was going to say, gee, Benjamin Johnson there, so lucky to not crash in the back there of Obersteller, but those 2 choosing to go for that early run. Ian Jordan and Matt Hardigan as well, choosing to go for that undercut style.
Pretty busy on that pit lane, but you got to look at some of the cars that have continued and carried on. Robertson and Jackson are going to go at least 1 lap longer. Could be clever. So much time dawdling down that long pit lane before they even get to their pit boxes. Look at that for Obersteller. It was more than 30 seconds. It was a long time from the pit in to the box to the pit out, and he's been jumped by Benjamin Johnson as well.
Yeah, making it up there in the pit, so Johnson absolutely nailing that to see how it blends back onto the circuit. Not want to go too far to the left there and accidentally break onto that blend line and then getting that penalty. So
the leaders are coming in. Got to race the pit entry all the way to the cone, which is around the corner, and here, yep, another one of those moments where the driver behind wants to be a bit more aggressive and attacking to the pit lane cones. Yeah, slightly sad looking Porsche of Hilton Booth, I think it was, coming in. And this would be Ken O'Hara, the only other driver yet to stop. Do you look entirely sure where the pit entry was?
yeah, I had to have a bit of a look around there, but you can just see that difference there.
So it'll all shake out after the pit stops now. On circuit, at speed, Benjamin Johnson coming out of the pit lane, looking to blend. Jake Jackson does not look like he's close enough. Obersteller will come through. Oh, they're going to be door-to-door. Obersteller isn't going to get through on that position. He's right behind Joshua Robertson. Robertson blends in back in front. So Benjamin Johnson leads. Jake Jackson's strategy has worked out pretty well, running even longer. Same for Joshua Robertson. And who's in on all of this after the round of pit stops? David Baz has clawed a little closer as well.
There we are seeing G. Johnson, just seeing that opening up that gap there to Jake Jackson is also just over a second or so. And as you were saying before, David Baz up 3 positions into that 5th place, so doing an absolute great effort here. I think him and Johnson there might have had the shortest stop, so around that 56-second mark.
Incredibly long pit lane trundle here of more than 40 seconds. There's a lot of other circuits where it's sort of 20 to 25. So big Indy pit lane.
see. Just having a look there, Craig Watson, though, in the lane seemed to be quite a lot slower than everyone else. So he was about 1 minute and 2 seconds there. So just it's one of those things, you can be a tenth or so faster than the cars around you, but lost almost, you'd have to say.
Uh-oh. Hayden Jackson is also back on the pit lane for a second time. And he might have been just caught speeding. Otherwise, cutting the course somewhere, I'm not sure. But that's pretty brutal in a short 25-minute race like this, and especially given, at best, it's a drive-through, and we're just talking about that's almost a 40-second penalty here.
Yeah, definitely going to put him a fair way back in this field here.
On board with David Baz as he looks to hunt Aaron Obersteller. As the stint runs on, are the Mercedes getting closer to their balance window, or are they getting a little looser at the rear like we've seen from others? Is the pace going to drop off aggressively from the Mercedes is the question. Well, it's heating up here.
See, Jake Jackson has taken about a couple of tenths out there, so he's just hovering around that 1 second mark at the moment there from the back of Benjamin Johnson. As we're talking fuel before, whether or not they've got to roll out a little bit there, so we'll see Johnson, obviously, he's going to have to keep it going flat out. Whether or not the cars in behind can kind of roll off and just save that fuel there right for the end.
Top five briefly all in shot. Fastest of the bunch of them last lap was Robertson here, and you can see he's looking to get around Jake Jackson. Maybe a little bit of over-under in the final sector. If the Mercedes can get a good run, you think with a little bit more power, should be able to slipstream pretty well. Can you outbrake into turn one, though, is the next question. And Jackson's aware that the move could come. He's sort of half a car width away from the wall until he gets to the braking zone, and it's closing up behind as well. Critical is that gap first to second at the moment, though, with about 6 laps to go.
Oh, you can see all over the back of that Mercedes there. You can actually see David Batters running that line out just a little bit wider there in his Porsche. Not too, plenty of room though in behind, so you can kind of really take a more risky maneuver. Maybe he's not having to defend from behind.
David Baz on the slightly shorter end of the pit stops. Rolled out at the end of the straight there by 50 meters or so. So maybe just manage it a little bit, hope to be able to push harder at the end. They are dropping a little bit away from the leaders. Robertson misses the apex by a chunk there. Which is pretty harmful when you think that this final sector here is where he needs to be strong if he's going to get past. Needs to be really, really close there and get a good run onto the pit straight. Jackson's taken time out of Johnson as well, so your top 5 go across the line. And the lead is a lot closer. Baz is a lot closer to 4th.
You can see those two still going at it, and then we're looking a little bit further, I think a little bit further down there to DeLuca and Nikoliff. Oh, oh, it's showing a bit of a nose here at the moment. Oh, and we're just seeing
Obersteller's in the wall. My goodness, he was right with David Baz. Is this a mistake with the curbs, or has there been contact for 4th position? And that's the championship leader as well. His race ending in the fence. What happens? Baz looking down the inside. Okay, good move. All fair so far. Oh, loses the rear, trying to take the shallow entry into the fast corner. The back just steps out for Obersteller, a line he hadn't run previously in the race.
Yeah, see on board, it almost looks like they made contact there on the right-hand side, but such a fast part of the circuit and chewed up and spat out just so quickly.
Yeah, not sure David Baz can do a whole lot other than that. He got a great run through 1 and 2 and placed the car to try to outbrake at the next zone. And I did not see a single foot wrong from David Baz there. At the lead, though, the shortstop that Benjamin Johnson got the lead with might be hampering his pace a little bit right now. His lead is down to nothing. The top 3 down to underneath a second. There's quite a bit of time left in this one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Still about just under 5 minutes on the clock now, so see these really really starting to heat up there. You'd say there Benjamin Johnson did have about a second half though, but the 2 cars in behind have really started to reel him in, so it's going to be this 3-way battle for the lead.
Little moment from Robertson, but then squares it back up off the exit. A couple car lengths further back than he was earlier. I tell you what, it's a little touch and go on the lap count as well. It's a little just touch amongst some of the other drivers. But there was 4 minutes 15 on the clock, and the leaders have been doing 1 minute 25s. And I'm pretty sure that means it was exactly on the knife edge between 3 or 4 laps. Now here's John Gagliardi onto the lane with a black flag. That could in fact be from incident limit if he's had too many contacts or spins, or off tracks are certainly possible around here as well. A couple of ways to get it. So Nick, keep your eyes on this when we get to the line at the end of this lap, because if it's 125s, then 2 minutes 50 on the clock would give us that knife edge between 2 or 3 more laps in this race. And I think that's about where it's going to be, 2 minutes 50, when Johnson crosses the start-finish line.
Yeah, and I have to say as well, Johnson just seems to be in a league of his own at the moment. His best lap was around a 124 flat there, so almost breaking there into the 123s.
I think we're 3 more laps.
Yeah, he's definitely holding that pace on there, so
that will be interesting to see. Does Barney wave the white flag at the end of this one? And if he doesn't, does Johnson have enough fuel? Does Jackson have enough fuel? Does Robertson have enough fuel? They're all in the 12-second pit stops until you get to Matt Hardigan in 7th, who took 14 seconds of fuel. He'll be hoping that they keep the pace up and that we get an extra lap out of this one.
Yeah, I'd have to say, yeah, exactly right. Is it going to be 2 or 3? We've got our timing systems there saying only 2 to go, but it could still potentially be 3.
I think it's close, and we'll only know based on what happens at the start-finish line this time. If it's a white flag, well, that locks in the checkered flag the lap after. But if there's no white flag, then it has to be the white flag the lap after that. Then it has to be the checkered flag. They can't wave the checkered flag without having waved the white flag. So if there is no white flag, then it definitely means 2 more to go. What are we going to get at the line? They're going through the final sector here. Johnson's under a little less pressure than he's previously been, out to 0.8. Barney, what have you got for us? 2 more laps. Look at that. The leader just did a 124, and there was a minute 26 on the clock as he crossed the line. This is about as long as it could possibly go. So knife edge in that lap count. They've been too quick through the lane, too quick out on track. I hope everyone's prepared for how many racing laps this is going to be.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an ear out there and hear any of the V8s there or the 6s of the Porsches running out of fuel.
Well, it's a V10 that leads the way from a flat 6 in second, from a naturally aspirated V8 in third, and all of them are going to be hoping they've got enough go-go juice to keep that motor turning.
He's just on board here. At the moment. No, he seems to be hitting it coming out of the corners there for Benjamin Johnson, so he seems pretty confident that he can go that extra lap.
Jackson doesn't seem like he's quite as close or quite as aggressive to the lead as he was before. All of them stay out, and they're going to get the white flag this time. And if they don't, I'll really surprised. There it is. But look at how much time is left on the clock as he crosses the line about now. 3 seconds. So if they'd gone just a little bit slower, this race would have been 1 lap shorter. How much pressure is Jackson under? For Benjamin Johnson, he's still got just a little bit in his back pocket. They touch, and it's going to loop the Porsche around. Robertson's going to try to wait. It is a full 360, knock over the pit exit cone. Here comes David Baz, and he's going to steal that spot away from Joshua Robertson as well. Jackson holds on a second. Baz goes through in a third. Robertson back in a fourth. I don't need to tell you this, but an unnecessary donut uses up more fuel.
It's absolutely... Need to flick that car around as quick as you can, though. Was a great idea, though, to hand that position back, though. Gee, they're really starting to battle here for that third place. It does look like Jake Jackson might just be far enough to be out of the clutches of these two and behind, though.
Yeah, so what a big moment there. Joshua Robertson obviously done the right thing there. Didn't mean to collect the driver in front and tried to wait, but through all of that, David Baz has snuck through for one more. He nearly rear-ends another Porsche, but up front, it's made things oh so easy for Benjamin Johnson. He's pretty well thrilled with himself on that one. Gaining the spots with the fuel saving, with the pit strategy. He takes the win. They're in a drag race for second that Jackson is going to hold on to. David Baz sneaks his way through into third on that final lap. Anyone else struggling with their fuel elsewhere? How has he done this? Matt Hardigan had one of the longest stops. He's out of fuel, but he'll coast it across the line, still hold on to that 7th place. Nick Bottrell and Craig Watson. A little bit further up the road from them, Hilton Booth. How many incidents did it seem like he was involved in early? But he's still going to finish inside of the top 10. Chat between the drivers that the limiting thing for the Audi might have been the tyres more than the fuel. Interesting if true.
Seeing a few more of our minor cars come through there, Dave.
Yeah, they will. It's just Tom Brown and Aaron Obersteller, who just managed to stay on the lead lap, but he needed to go through the pit lane again to get his car fixed. Benjamin Johnson takes the win from third on the grid. Jake Jackson takes second from fourth on the grid, and David Baz gets a podium from 8th on the grid. Joshua Robertson fought with them. He's there in 4th, and Ian Jordan holding on to 5th. Ben Pollock, Matt Hardigan, John Nicolay, Aaron DeLuca, your best Ferrari, and Hilton Booth rounding out the top 10. The biggest mover in the field was Sam Batty, Nick.
Yeah, Sam Batty there to Graham Filan. So I think Graham Filan there holding around that position. Nick Bottrell there, Craig Watson, Ashley DeVries, Tom Brown, and then we did see Aaron Obersteller with that incident was as high as 2nd place, so he'll be kicking himself down 16 positions there. Zach Christie, our first of our lap down cars, Simon Dwyer and Ken O'Hara in 20th.
Yeah, just 5 more lap down. John Gagliardi was through the pit lane a couple times. Hayden Jackson and Hamish Munro also with some problems. Jack Anderson, early retirement. Tony Gagliardi Likewise. Well, what an exciting little warm-up from the Junior Division Pass 2. We've got 2 races coming up for the big boys in Pro-Am. Really, really looking forward to that one. Stick with us on SimSpeed. Back in a second with more GT3 racing from Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course.
So you do like it? Okay.
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
And as we get ready for the Pro-Am Sim Series and their races, we're joined by Pass 2 winner Benjamin Johnson to give us a little bit of an insight into your race and the circuit and the racing. I mean, fuel strategy turned out to be the winner for you there.
Yeah, that was the whole story of the race. Honestly, I didn't quite have a few tenths up my sleeve to pace wise on the guys who were second and third, and the guys who were just ahead of me, and I didn't get a great start. And I ran my fuel, put it in there, and didn't recalculate when I went in the pit lane. So I think I underfueled just a touch, and that actually got me the jump. And I pushed really hard on the outlap and the one after that. And my tyres were screaming no more towards the end or sliding around. And I think if we had gone another lap, I wouldn't have made it on fuel.
It was a little touch and go with the timing of it there. It's a pretty quick lap around here. Balance of performance looked pretty solid though, because you were right there with the Porsche, with the Mercedes, maybe not in qualifying, but come the drop of the checkered flag after a bit of racing.
Yeah, there were some sections of the track like turns sort of 2, 3 and the run onto the back straight where the Porsche was and the Mercedes were much quicker than I was. I was losing a tenth or two, but I was getting it all back in the tight twisty section in the middle of the lap. I'd pull away again. So yeah, BOP looks pretty good.
Well, congratulations
Thank you.
on your win there then. And you got anyone in particular you might be cheering for here in Pro-Am?
Oh yeah, certainly, definitely. Thanks to the Drop Bear Motorsport guys. Hoping they're doing well in the Pro-Am series. Hope to join them soon in the Pro-Am section. But yeah, thanks to Drop Bear, and thanks to all our sponsors, HRS and Oski.
Beautiful. Catch you next week.
All right, thanks guys.
Well, there we go, Nick. We're ready for qualifying now of Pro-Am. Let's take a look at their standings. Dylan O'Shea leads us in the Pro Division. Brad Watson, Lachlan Capel, Marcus Watson, and then Daniel Yeaman and Ross Rizzo, Adam Funslow, Christopher Henn, Aaron Cooper, and Alex Court. So O'Shea, the man to catch out front. Let's take a look then, Nick, at those AM standings.
Yeah, absolutely. There we've got Stephen Tonkin, Jeffrey Wang, Glenn Seto Riddell, and Timothy Harris, Jordan Ferguson there. So they're our top 5. You can all see then in really tight there. So it's less than 100 points separating that top 5 or so. So starting to really sharpen up here at the front of our Pro-Am division.
You'll almost never see a circuit busier in qualifying than it is right now. It's different balance of performance between Pass 2 and Pro-Am. And that's fair enough, because there are some cars that in their pace capability are very strong, but difficult to be consistent with. So there are some subtle variations. The Porsche, for example, down at 96% of its power here. The Ferrari up at 99.5%. So I hope to maybe see some Ferraris a little closer here. And BMW's also got just a little extra, no change to the Audi at 97.5% and the Lamborghini at 99%. We're watching Kobe Williams at the moment in one of those Mercedes though, and they didn't look like a bad qualifying car. He's got the provisional pole. I reckon Brad Watson might be about to steal that away from him. Marcus Watson completes a lap that improves him as well. Brad Watson actually just falls a bit short of that, but the drivers all into second runs or so here.
You're starting to see that Lamborghini there in the mix. I don't think we actually caught one there in that AM class, so great to see.
I think there might have been an ILEC 1 or 2, but definitely we didn't talk about it much. Speaking of an ILEC Lamborghini, here's one. Christopher Henn is 11th. His number panel is in green. Lets you know he's in the Pro Division. Ben Jeffrey in blue, for example, in the timing tower, is therefore in the AM class through those S's that we were told the Audi can be pretty strong through, nor the spun car. And where the Audi is strong, theoretically, the Lamborghini should be strong likewise.
Absolutely. Actually see just how much steering rotation some of these corners here at Indy take. It is, even though being pretty much a dead flat back there, it really does kind of have that technical big long radius corners though. Oh, just winding on the power there. You can just see the revs there, almost 8,000 RPM is more or less that shift limit going over the line there, so still in about that 12th place there at the moment.
Yeah, no improvement on that lap. And the bulk of the shortfall was going down the back straight. So you run off of turn 4 and through the quick chicane, compromising him a little bit. Taking a little look-see here on board with one of the Audi R8 R8s. looks like an out lap just completed. So Marcus Watson now gearing up for a full attack lap. He's all the way up against the wall on the left. Break it in deep. Just a touch, just a tickle of that first apex curb. You'll lose too much time if you're over it, and you'll lose too much time if you don't get close to it. So we're talking about the speed, the wind up off that corner defines how quick your second sector is. He's gone purple through that sector, just as I'd mention it.
Definitely in the zone there. You can just see that, just how quickly he's gaining up on that car there in front. This is going to be a really, really good one.
Yeah, it could be if he's unimpeded through the end here. Oh, can you lip read?
I think we were doing this last week. Oh, and he's aborted the lap as well, so you could imagine not too happy in the slightest.
Luke Turner out the final corner. He's going to cross to the line. You're running out of time left in this session. It will be a hard end, an abrupt end to this qualifying session. So as it was last week, when the checkered flag drops, so too does the red flag. You've seen the sunset, and the track is cooling off as they go through this session. So there are drivers finding a lot of speed out there. Kobe Williams, one of them, 10th and a half off in his second sector, but his PB at the end here, he is amongst a bit of traffic that might have cost him at the end there, just shy of an improvement. Matthew Bowler also purple first sector, and then an improvement to the end of the lap.
Oh, a bit of a wiggle there from that Mercedes there of Matthew Bowler.
Dan Yeaman's having a good old little chin wag. Where's he find himself at the moment? 13th overall. He is ahead of the AM pole sitter. Now, just about where he is, he's going to be one of the last drivers to get a flying lap, because you need 1:25 left on the clock when you cross the line. He had just a little more than that. So for everyone you look at now, this is their final lap, their final chance in this qualifying session. Has Ross changed car, or is he in the Porsche since the start of this season? Well, he's just set his best lap at a 23.7, but that is still 8 tenths away from pole. No, that wasn't his best lap. His best was a 23.4. About to be an end to this session. I'm not sure Marcus Watson's far enough around to make it. Dan Yeaman is coming out the final corner now. That's a teammate. Oh my goodness. He'll pick up just a little bit of a slipstream off Lachlan Capel, I think it is. And there's only 10 seconds left. There's a handful of drivers who are not going to make it around. For Yeaman, that lap was an improvement. There is the end of the session. He goes up into 8th. And for race number 1, the grid is locked in. Just 10 minutes. And then we get the inverted top 10 into the much longer feature race number 2 of 40 minutes. Kobe Williams has the pole. And once again, it's an all Mercedes front row with Matthew Bowler. Sebastian Flock and Luke Turner bring the Lamborghini and the BMW to row number 2. And then it's Watson Audis for row number 3. Brad Watson's going to be on the inside from Marcus. And there's Rizzo, Yeaman, Tyson Broad, Harry Lawrence, Lachlan Capel, and Matthew Johnson. We'll keep looking at the pro cars, and then in a minute you'll get to your AM class leader. Joshua Fitt and Christopher Henn slot in there. Ben Jeffrey, Hayden Feld, Tim Harris. I mean, they're the drivers to look at up the front of the AM field. And there's Dylan O'Shea to row 9. Got Adam Funslow, Alex Court, Richard Brookfield. Sprinkle in a couple more AM cars with Tom Wilkinson and Sam Lehman. And the top 24 are completed by Timothy Auty. It keeps going. We've got a very strong field once again for Pro-Am. Shu Kang, Brandon Groch, Luke Fitt, John Merritt, Jeffrey Wang, Tony Barker. And then it looks a little more thick on with the AM runners. Gustavo Cirillo, Stephen Tonkin, Brady Buchanan, Derek Auty, Glenn Riddle. And Jordan Ferguson, Adam Jepson, and Phil Auty. 38 cars around a pretty tight little track. Lucky Pro-Am guys get a truncated formation lap. They're not doing the full lap. That'll save them a kilometre or two.
Yeah, quite a few cars there out on the circuit. I think it was about 19 rows or so. So probably a bit tricky to fit the whole lot around there.
$10 minutes for race number 1 will be short, sharp, and frantic. And then we get the top 10 invert for the 40-minute race number 2. That means a little later on in this one, we're definitely going to have a look at who's in that lucky 10th place to get the pole position for race number 2. Very thick on with Mercedes up front. The pace car is in. Your pole sitter holds them. And Barney's had his work cut out for him. Pretty aggressive line all the way to the pit wall. Barney drops the green. We roar into action, and Kobe Williams almost goes nowhere. Matthew Bowler immediately goes through into the lead. They're almost 3 wide, 4 wide behind him. Who's that in a Porsche chopping around? It's all on. 3 wide from the leaders. Williams wants some of those spots back. He'll dive it down towards the apex. I can smell carnage brewing in the air.
Well, so far it seems to be pretty clean though. We did see 2 of those Simrigs Porsches a little bit further down. Really, really close there. We're just starting to see them fan out. Oh, through the back part of the circuit though.
You hold your breath with the big field. There was 4 wide deeper in the field through turn number 2. Somehow everyone survived so far. Big braking zone. There it is. Matthew Johnson is around, and it's triggered a huge pile up that continues on. So we had to wait half a lap for the inevitable that time. Is that Rizzo with damage? It is. And it's enough that he's got a black flag as well. And he's always just going to park this one to get out of everyone's way. He has to. He's looking at, hang on, I'm 4 wide on the left-hand side. How am I going to get to the pit entry on the right? You realize it just wasn't going to happen. So that's a very tough opening lap for a handful of drivers like Ross Rizzo. Lachlan Capel on the lane as well with a pretty damaged-looking car. Matthew Johnson was off the circuit. First lap complete. Matthew Bowler leads them. Pole sitter Williams got his 2nd place back. Marcus Watson feels like a pretty big winner. He started out of 6th on the 3rd row, and he's in 3rd place. We ride on board with Christopher Henn. There's a little bit of a damage to the Mercedes in front of Ben Jeffrey, your AM leader. Verheyen wants to get around him, and it's not really in Ben Jeffrey's interests to fight that one too hard. The next car in the AM class is a couple further back. It's Sam Lehman in 17th. I say that. And he's off. Dylan O'Shea off as well. Tom Wilkinson got around Sam Lehman, so a lot of change in the sunset.
Yeah, that sunset kind of jumped out of nowhere there. So you can see the lighting conditions here, just changing very, very quickly though. So
looking back from the Mercedes. It's pretty busy back there.
Oh, you can just see that car 22 there, Brendan Gross, sideways coming through. But and that's caught a lot of cars there in that one. People just trying to find a way through left and right there. Alex caught in that number 44.
Sam Lehman tries to rejoin there. Now, I've got a predicted lap count that says they don't stop in this race if they save a lap of fuel or about half a lap of fuel. Is that hunch justified at all from the behavior we're seeing? Bowler leads, feels the need to cover the inside into one. He's going to do plenty to try to hang Williams out, but he can't quite box him out, so they go too wide through turn number 2. Bowler will take the full racing line here, the full arc. It walks out a little wide on him. Could he be vulnerable at the end of this straight? Kobe Williams with the Mr. Bean coloured car and the Mr. Bean helmet. Looks to the inside, but doesn't take that one away. Has that trademark Mercedes wobble off the curb. But you just can't quite pass there if you're Marcus Watson.
We just see that cross there to the inside. So, Kobe Williams there defending everywhere at the moment. I think he's a little bit further back now. He's almost lost about a second and a bit there to Bowler out there in front, so has hurt his pace a little bit. He's going to have a whole bunch of cars there all up in his rearview mirror here at the moment.
It's headlight flasher clock all round. Marcus Watson now under pressure. It's Luke Turner in the BMW. I feel like you can go around the outside there if you then, get the inside for turn 2 right. But he gives up on that one. Live look at Yeaman as he's sort of probably pondering his own fuel, pondering his own grip, and pondering what do the drivers in front do if they collide. How do I thread my way through that?
You can definitely see a lot of thought going through his head there at the moment.
Interesting little leading breakaway here as well, because you can see Sebastian Flock in the Lamborghini. There's a lot of clean air behind him till you get to Hayden Veld leading AM class car. And what's always so interesting is when your AM leader gets inside of that top 10 and maybe picks up that invert. Tim Harris is the next AM class car in 12th overall. So if they drop the checkered flag now, and it's not that far away, it's only 2 laps, maybe 3 laps away. I think it's 3 away, based on the numbers that I hashed out earlier. You'd see Hayden Veld starting out of 3rd and Tim Harris starting out of 12th. as your first and second placed AM cars. So that's some of the carnage has played out well for Veld.
Yeah, absolutely there. So doing such a good job. Hayden Veld seeing just a few minor places change there. I think that is Tom Wilkinson. Funslow just up ahead, so those two are having a great battle there.
Yeah, a couple dents to Funslow's Porsche there. I think he's working his way back up the field after some of the incidents that we've seen. It might be costing him some straight line performance though, because the AM car wants it back at the end of the straight and isn't going to get it, but does get some sick air time up against some of the curbs. So Marcus Watson, we saw him earlier trying to get through on Kobe Williams. Didn't happen then, but it has eventually transpired. Whereas Williams had the bobble. For the Mercedes, they do look a very oversteery kind of car. They're quick, but they are getting into the traction control and struggling to keep the rear of the car in check in places. Did he get a slowdown from cutting one of the curbs? It's really what it looked like. So I don't think they got the white flag. I think they're about to get it at the end of this lap. Confirming Barney at ease. So with this battle over second and third, things look pretty good for Matthew Bowler at the lead. 1.5 seconds from this group. I wonder if you'll see some sends later. Why did I? Whoa. Man, I was nearly off the Evolution Racing Team Christmas card list with that one. We cut to him and he's tracking out wide using all the circuit, just tagging some of the grass, nearly threw it all away, coming towards the white flag in this one. It is going to be an 8-lap race, so just a tiny bit of fuel saving will have been necessary all through the field. Who's done it best? Who's going to attack on this final lap? Has maybe Yeaman in 5th learnt something from his teammate, the winner of Pass 2? Some clever operators in that group. What's going on here? Oh, no, don't like that. Christopher Hen's been looped around.
Yeah, does not look too pleased in the slightest.
No, he doesn't. He would have thought that driver was off the circuit and rejoined into him. Final lap, and who's that around? Tyson Broad, and there's a big incident a bit behind that as well with Ben Jeffrey off the circuit. Remember, he's one of our better placed AM class competitors as well. There's Funslow losing out. Bowler's going to come out of the final corner, and it can cough and splutter a couple hundred meters from the line and he'll be fine. But what's going on here with Williams and Watson? Both of them slow as well in the final sector. Marcus Watson up into second. Daniel Yeaman, is he going to come through into third? There's a drag race there that I think he loses out to Luke Turner. The BMW power steals a podium away from him. It all did explode on the final lap of race 1. Oh dear. Tim Harris sneaks into that top 10, so he'll be the pole sitter for race number 2 because of some of the crashes, spins, and incidents we've seen on this final lap. Results then of race 1. Matthew Bowler, the winner. Marcus Watson, second. Then check the time. Luke Turner and Daniel Yeaman, BMW racing to the yard of bricks quicker. Sebastian Flock, Brad Watson, Kobe Williams, Hayden Veld, the AM winner there in 8th. Harry Lawrence, 9th, and Tim Harris, 2nd in AM class, just sneaks his way into the top 10. It's that top 10 that we're going to take and invert for the grid of race number 2. Flicking down through then to Richard Brookfield, Tyson Merritt, Tyson Broad, losing a lot of time on that final lap. Then Wilkinson, O'Shea, Christopher Henn, Glenn Riddle, Stephen Tonkin, Adam Funslow, Gustavo Cirillo as the top 20. Ben Jeffrey, Jordan Ferguson, Brandon Grotch, Joshua Fitt, Adam Jepson, Matthew Johnson was one of the drivers who will feel pretty beat up after that one. Tim Audie, Phil Audie, Derek Audie for a sort of pretty good, well, you're one away from Connect 4 there. Sam Lehman in 30th. And of course, from here on back is what the grid will look like for race number 2, not far away. Alex Court, Lachlan Capel, definitely one who could charge through the field in race number 2. Luke Fitt, Brady Buchanan, Tony Baker, Chu Kang, Ross Rizzo, after needing the tow hook and his damage, 1 lap down, 37th place. And Jeffrey Wang in 38th. So as we get ready for race number 2, we've got to thank those who make this broadcast and the championship possible. It's simrigs.com, offering a large range of affordable and high-end racing simulator equipment for the beginner and pro alike. Australian owned and operated, product advice and warranty service, single product or full turnkey rigs. Use the promo code OzProAm for a 5% discount at checkout. Echuca Toyota is a family-owned and operated business that understands purchasing and owning a vehicle is a unique and important experience for our guests. We're committed to the Toyota brand, holding the full vehicle range. This means when you come to our dealership, you'll be able to view and test drive any Toyota that interests you. We also stock a diverse range of quality and certified pre-owned vehicles, each of which has been handpicked by us. For more, head to echucatoyota.com.au. Ferguson Group Media are a full-stack media company that work with SME businesses across website development, e-commerce, social media strategy and execution. For more information, head to fergusongroupmedia.com. And with that, we gear up for race 2, just minutes away here. So as the drivers reset, so will we. Stick with us. 40 minutes of pit stop GT3 action with a big grid coming at you from Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
So you do like it?
I love it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
The sun starts to set on Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but the racing heats up. Welcome back to the simrigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series, our feature race about to grid up, get ready, and roar into life. 40 minutes with an inverted top 10 from the race you just saw. It's going to be pretty dark by the end of this one, I feel. And the pit lane is going to be a busy place at times. So quickly refreshing after race number 1, the sprint opening. Tim Harris finished 10th, and he gets the lucky invert pole position for race number 2. He's going to be sharing that with Harry Lawrence on the front row. Hayden Veld in there as well, alongside Kobe Williams. Hayden Veld, your AM winner from the first race, and with a pretty decent starting position for race number 2 as well. There's Brad Watson and Sebastian Flock, and Daniel Yeaman, Luke Turner, Marcus Watson, the race 1 winner, starting out of 10th, Matthew Bowler. Fuel burn in effect from the minute they pull away from the grid here with the pace car. Headlights are fully lit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we might even see a bit of the track lighting and stuff come on. Just see how dark it is there currently. So really getting that GT3 feel as they cruise on into the darkness.
Sunset's quite late in Indianapolis because they stubbornly want to be part of the Eastern time zone so that they don't have to share Central time zone with Chicago. But like Brisbane is very far east in its time zone. The sun rises early, sets early. Indianapolis is quite far west in its time zone. The sun rises late and sets quite late in the day. But you give another 40 minutes from here, expect almost complete darkness. We're only feeling like we're 10 minutes away from complete darkness if we're honest with ourselves. 40 minutes, pit stops, big GT3 field, about to form up and cross the historic yard of bricks. Busy boy Barney has got a green flag, and it'll be a while before he needs a white flag. We get racing pole sit away pretty cleanly there. BMW seem to be strong at that. You've got a bit of movement from Dan Yeaman looking one way, looking the other. Kobe Williams is looking to maybe slot a gap and shoot down the middle. 4 wide. How is that going to end up? Kobe Williams will go round the outside. And then to turn number 2, Williams is going to take the lead. Much contact behind. Tidy enough so far, but it seemed like it was the end of the back straight that undid them in race number 1.
Yeah, I have to say, maybe a bit of redemption there for Kobe Williams. Was more or less leading there. Oh, that's side hip check there. That's actually thrown that Mercedes there right off into the grass. So has saved it there for Bowler. So his task is going to get even a little bit harder. He did start in 10th place there. Our winner of our sprint race there at the start, and there'll be a lot of action around here.
Yeah, 2 wide through a very, very quick chicane. Didn't seem to work out, and he was lucky to keep that car facing the right way. Saw others end up in the wall in a similar position. Here he is now, alongside AM driver Tom Wilkinson. He's past him now, up beside Christopher Henn. And he'll get through there. Taking a look from Henn's perspective. I think his Model HyperX headset's a little more expensive than mine. And he's got plenty to say by the looks of it.
He's definitely getting some good use out of it.
Big stop in towards 1. Track drops a little bit, then rises up through 2. Oh, there's been some contact behind. Phil Orty around is going to get drilled. That happening in turn number 1. Kobe Williams, very handy lead after some heroics on the brakes into the first turn. He was kind of boxed backwards and then a lane opened up and he broke deep on the way in.
Yeah, definitely capitalising. Just see that that gap between him and Tim Harris there, around 1.7 seconds. So he's actually really starting to make a decent break there. Harris will not be getting any of that draft, and Williams not being able to defend. So I reckon we'll see that gap at least come out to about maybe 2.5 seconds or so.
There is Harris in second. Follow the leader with him at the moment and the rest of the field down the pit straight. Big number boards to pick your braking zone.
You'd have to say there, Williams, about half a second there faster than pretty much the rest of the field at this stage. So he's definitely trying to make the most of it while getting that clean air out in front.
Is Bowler working his way back through the field. Got past Luke Turner on the brakes in towards turn number 1. Christopher Hen's going to have a dig at Luke Turner as well. There's Funslow battling with Johnson and Tonkin. It's a very sunset painted car.
Very well done. In the paint department, it's great seeing all those big sim rig banners there. Oh, there's a lot of curb there by Marcus Watson. So
now's the time of day to have a lot of reflective chrome and such on your car. Bouncing off the beautiful sunset hues. Here comes the Audi. And you want to pull out at the last moment unless it's Lance Stroll that you're overtaking. But too wide. You can hold your position around the outside, it seems. Flock getting around the outside. Harry Lawrence has lost third place to Dan Yeaman. And Tim Harris is holding his own in second there now as well, though will he maybe come under a little bit more pressure now that Yeaman is through. Some overtakes, a little bit of traffic here.
oh, jeez, so well bumped in. Oh, it's almost 2 cars there taken there. Matthew Bowler's on an absolute charge there. 2 cars through that one corner though, unfortunately.
Check up through the traffic. Richard Brookfield got turned here. So Brookfield's looking, which way do I go? To the right here. And you can interpret that one in a handful of different ways. But the starting point for me is I don't think there was an inside line open there.
Yeah. Hard to see if... Oh, geez, you'd have to say there was some definite contact there. So whether or not that hard work by Matthew Bowler is going to be in the way of a penalty here, or running there so wide on the grass again.
So with all this talk, second, third, fourth, what's Tim Harris up to? Daniel Yeaman has gotten past him, but has a big look up the road to where Kobe Williams is with almost a 5-second lead. He's done very well off the race start so far. Tyson Broad might have cut the chicane, so in giving up the time, he's then lost out at the end of the straight.
Yeah, black flag there for Phil Orty, so we'll see him come through the pit. So you just see that damage there on that right-hand side of that Audi. So has been quite a lot in the walls here at the moment in that Phoenix Smokers entry.
So you think they'll go 3 more laps on this opening tank of fuel before we see the first round of pit stops. Here's another move in the offing as Marcus Watson looks down the inside of Dylan O'Shea. A move he's tried to pull off before, but this time he's completely clear. And the Porsche won't be able to cut back in turn number 2. Bowler right behind this as well, the next car. He held second for a long time, but now as we look at Tim Harris, they're starting to gang up on him a little more. Harry Lawrence has gotten through, Flock has gotten through, Hayden Veld has just gotten through, which is for the AM lead there as well.
You have to say there for Hayden Veld, done such a great job there over the previous race and this one here, so definitely going to be at this stage a potential clean sweep for the Pro-Am division there. Gee, we've seen 2 more cars go off again. We've got car 525. Adam Jepson there. Just
Taking a second look.
Yeah, I believe it was him and Tony Baker there. Oh, just 2 cars into the one spot there. Spat them both on the outside, so...
One of the first cars on the lane is Adam Funslow. After 6 laps. Surprised me a little bit. Things are heating up here, though. Around Tim Harris, side by side through the switchback. Matthew Bowler takes the spot away. And, yeah, Dylan O'Shea and Brad Watson have still been fighting each other just in front of that one. The other Watson gets down the inside of Harris as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how many cars that we're going to see come into the pits on the next few laps, because we have only seen, I think it was Funslow so far.
Oh, there's been carnage towards the pit entry with someone looking for pit in and collected by someone who wasn't. Dylan O'Shea around, goes to pit in. I need another look at that one potentially. What's happened in the final sector? So, Bowler, you've got the 2 Watsons in here. O'Shea looks around the outside. And, oh, Harry Lawrence, they split that. And then O'Shea into one of the Watsons. So, what on earth was happening for Harry Lawrence as well? He's lost the rear in the slow speed corners. Was a known thing for a while that the seamless shift was not seamless going down into second gear, and it's lost that quite early in the piece. So, what we take from that, bit of carnage up front. Drivers now starting to make some of their pit stops as well. There's Funslow, who made the early stop at full race pace down the pit straight. Luckily for these guys leaving pit lane, they get to cut a fair chunk of turn 1. Oh, and there's some different lines to slot between the cones as well. Johnson thought he had more speed than the 60 of Christopher Henn. Here come some of the drivers that have gone to 7 laps. It's almost everyone by the looks of it. Williams from the lead brings in a big train of everyone but Harry Lawrence.
You see that, I think Kobe Williams had that split it as around about 6 seconds there, so be curious to see how he's maintained that gap coming out. So surely all that work that he's done in that first part of our session here is going to pay off for him.
Here's the leading car to have stopped. Marcus Watson. He's saying, I don't know what you guys are talking about, this traffic. It's really clean in front of me. So this lap, pretty critical for where he ends up. A bit of understeer at the apex there. I'm looking at Watson looking up at his sort of fourth monitor, and I think he knows we're watching him, or he's watching the timing maybe, about where he's going to be compared to everyone else leaving their pit stalls. He's about to be able to see a handful of them and know where he rejoins into this race and where those rejoin around him. There's Veld just in front. I need to know how this lap's going for Harry Lawrence, though. 1 lap longer than 37 other drivers. And pit in for him now.
I think I was actually just looking on the timing screen as well. I think did see Ross Rizzo there up into 13th position, so he's up 24 places there. That's Hayden Veld's webcam.
Do we have the information on what state Hayden Veld is in, so I know what state's Child Protective Services to call? Looks like it might be Victoria, but some winners potentially through that first phase of the pit stops. For example, Flock is up into 3rd here. Hayden Veld, as far as the AM drivers go, doing well for himself there in 4th. And Funslow potentially, again, one of those drivers we saw lose out pretty big time in race number 1, might have started a bit deeper in the field than otherwise. Ross Rizzo, I mean, from the very back, is now up here into 12th, and you'd say right in the fight for a top 5 potentially. Whole field, though, still very densely packed in this section. All of them, after a round of pit stops, still for position amongst this group. We are back with Christopher Henn. His pit stop was 13 seconds of fuel. There is a bit of variation. It seems like everyone who pitted early took about 12. Drivers who ran longer then put a little more in and are closer to 14-second stops, except Rizzo, about 11 seconds. So I wonder if he has actually short-fueled a tiny bit in that first stop to get a bit of the track position, potentially. We'll see if he ends up needing a longer second stop.
You'd have to say Christopher Henn there's really just sitting in at the moment and just trying to get that pace. Really feels like 40 minutes does come down to that really consistent rhythm, just chipping away. Williams there still with about that gap though, about 7.5 seconds, so not much between the two. I think it's about half a second faster in the lane between him and Daniel Yeaman.
I think Hayden Veld smelt that one coming. Marcus Watson moves up, but for Veld, he'll know that as far as the AM championship goes, this is not his fight. The next AM competitor that Hayden Veld really needs to think about is all the way down there at Stephen Tonkin, and then Tim Harris, and then Tom Wilkinson. So there is a lot of cars between Tonkin, second in AM, and Hayden Veld leading that class. Bit of a shuffle with some of the traffic there. Is that Harris serving a slowdown? I think it was. Yeah, so he's lost a chunk of spots. Board with a BMW of... Sorry, that's a Porsche of Lachlan Capel. They've got the same Bosch dash in him, and he's trying to get around Tonkin. Inside on the brakes for turn number 1. Barrels it in a little bit hot, but that's how you do it.
You have to say there for Lachlan Cable, maybe our quiet achiever, starting very well down the back for this race here. So it's just been chipping away, I think, between him and Ross Rizzo.
A little further up the field, sandwiched in a very busy GT3 pack. Christopher Henn has got the Audi of John Merritt just behind. Probably his biggest concern and his biggest threat at the moment. And then over third and fourth, Marcus Watson is super quick at the moment. He's just gotten by Sebastian Flock. Flock's right back into the slipstream on the pit straight though. Hayden Veld right with them. Hello, little cheeky, little bump draft.
So there we go with those Audis this time around. We were talking earlier in that AM class about how the tyres kind of go off. I'm just trying to see some of the feedback there from the Audis as they come around. Tyson Broad. Another one of our drop bear cars we haven't seen too much of at the moment.
Pretty cinematic stuff, and it's a pretty picture for Kobe Williams at the moment. Almost 10 seconds clear of the next car. And he's been pulling away from Yeaman and Watson and Flock as well over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, best lap so far, I think, of a 122.9. So really our only car out on track there, dipping into the 122s, but even still last lap 123, another 123.9. So it's just been so consistent. You can just watch that that time vector just get more and more.
Yeah, that's a lot of time that it takes some of the fuel calculation out of the picture as well. You're not going to lose that lead by, taking a 2 second longer second pit stop. You've got a lot to work with there. So you don't need to worry too much about cutting things fine on the fuel drop of the final pit stop. Things looking busy for Ross Rizzo. Did he mega fuel save in the first stint, or did he a little short fuel? We will find out, but he's up 25 positions so far in this race. It's absolutely insane, even with maybe a bit of a short fuel through the first pit stop, if indeed that's what happened. And he's only 2.5 seconds away from 7th place as well.
You just see how clean his lines are there. Last lap, if you do look around the lap there as well, definitely the fastest out of all that pack, all the way up to Funslow though. Funslow with a 124.3 as well, so not really gaining too much on this, but we'll just see as do pass under that 20-minute mark there, Dave.
The tyres wear, I can't help but notice some of them getting just a little wider out of that final corner, and you can only go so wide before you start catching that little bit of grass, and then you could end up in the wall. We'll see how that goes as the race goes on. A very abrasive track surface here, although it has just been cooling off as we go on. Whoa, what have we got here? Hold on to it. And hold on to the line as well, because there's a driver to your inside. So I was just thinking, what is Harry Lawrence doing back here? And the answer is he was speeding on pit lane. Oh, Christopher Henn's gone around as well from our battle for 7th. He's facing the wrong way. And that is about 2/3 of the way around the lap. Has he been hit? Has he found that grass that Matthew Bowler almost found when I nearly cursed him?
It's just not having his night, I don't think. There. Every time we cut to his webcam, he's not having the greatest run there. So
It's the grasp. He's done it all by himself.
Oh, very lucky to not be spat out and into the wall there. So keeping off the wall there. So thankfully no damage, but.
A 10-second lead for Kobe Williams at the moment. And then you can see second, third, fourth, fifth headlights down the back straight. We could be not far away from the pit window opening for the final stop as well. But given the field of almost 40 cars, I wouldn't want to be pitting from the top 10 too early because the traffic is pretty significant. You could almost be a whole lap down by pitting early if you're not careful. It's been a pretty shocking lap from Matthew Bowler as well, so I wonder if he caught one of those slowdowns. He's in 6th place. And now only just ahead of that group. Second and third, there's not much here. We're looking from Watson at 2nd place, Dan Yeaman. Watson had a big dive into this braking zone earlier in the race. He's gonna try to force that. I don't think that works out though, and it costs them a bit of time. I think Dan Yeaman is saying that was a really clever move that both of us benefited from. I can read lips pretty well. Flock and Veld aren't far behind as well, and as they keep up that kind of thing, those pair of headlights behind could get closer. Shaped up pretty well through the final sector for Watson to have a go into turn 1 if he fancies it as well. There's not another car length in there.
Oh, flash the lights from behind. Yeah, so
can you go over under through turn 1? We're about to find out. No, not quite. Yeaman's just able to shut that door. He's looking for it back again. Final pit stop phase around. Rizzo in a little earlier than others, so he might have short fueled at the first stop. Is that a cut track? Is Yeaman going to have to slow up? Is Watson going to go through in a second? They've been battling pretty fiercely for about a lap now. And it has let Sebastian Flock and Hayden Veld close up, coming towards the final round of pit stops. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, heating up.
you can see Marcus Watson just has not dropped back there at all. He's really held on to the back there of Daniel Yeaman. This is just playing into the hands of Kobe Williams out there in front. And gee, you can see Sebastian Flock, though, under a second now to these two out in front. So it does look like this battle for second place now is going to be between 4 separate cars.
Whoa, pit callers behind. I think Luke Turner ran up behind Merritt. It's on track, bouncing across that curb. Marcus Watson can't quite get it done. So I hope neither were done for speeding on pit lane on the pit entry. Pretty aggressive with it. Here's Stephen Tonkin, points leader in the AM class, and it's not going so bad for him at the moment. Looking to pick up another bag. He's key rival, Jeffrey Wang, has had a couple spins that we've not seen. Watson tries the trademark dive again, and it doesn't work.
You're exactly right there, David. Jeffrey Wang down in about, I think it was about 25th place or sorry, around 18th position. So he's going to get a good advantage there in the points.
Marcus Watson stopped a lap earlier than everyone else last time around. And that is going to continue. He can't take quite the pit entry he wants because he can't run up the back of Dan Yeaman. Now, this is what the pit entry looks like. Super quick here. And then looking for the yellow cones. You don't want to get caught speeding on pit lane, but you do need to maximize that pit entry in racing conditions and not slow down too much too early. So Rizzo having cleared his second stop. It's behind Funslow, who's made his second stop, and 2 seconds behind Luke Turner, who we saw through the lane for the second time. Where'd Merritt go? Did he? Oh, he's just behind them. So he was just a little slower through the pit lane. Timing column chopping and changing as the final round of pit stops works its way through. You've still got the leaders to make one more stop. Williams, Yeaman, Flock, Veld. Here comes Marcus Watson back out onto circuit. Here's Ross Rizzo looking for one more on Funslow. Matthew Johnson rejoins just in front of them. And here's the leader. This will likely trigger just about everyone to pit except Sebastian Flock. And Brad Watson thinks he's got one more.
I was going to say there for Ross Rizzo, it was about 11.6 seconds there as a stop, so still quite a short one in comparison to we'll see. I think there's it seems to be about the same as a lot of the other people that have stopped twice, maybe even a whisker longer, I suppose, to compensate for that shorter first.
Here he is, having passed Funslow, now ranging up onto Johnson. There could be a bunch of cars that come out of pit lane this time around right into this fight as well. There's one or two. See, it's dark and no one's in the suites in the pagoda. Merritt, in way too deep on Funslow. Now they're going to rejoin side by side with what looks to be Hayden Veld. It is. And Veld will hold his position, almost forces Funslow off the track as Funslow misjudges the braking zone. Now they're going to be side by side here as Merritt gets the better run, probably the preferred line hopping across the curb. Great stuff to hold your position on that outlap by Hayden Veld. Flock, Watson, Capel, Broad in. So I think that's going to be everyone. Kobe Williams had a 12-second stop, so he was very generous on the fuel in the second stop. Might be a little under 10 seconds his lead when all this pit stop stuff shakes out, but he still had plenty coming to that pit stop that he does go back through into the lead of the race. Who will be in second? There's Marcus Watson on circuit. Daniel Yeaman, Sebastian Flock. So those who've just pitted haven't gained a whole lot out of it. There's Flock into turn 2 and 3. So with the second phase of pit stops completed, Hayden Veld still the AM leader. Stephen Tonkin in second. Tim Harris has gotten back to third in that class with a pretty snappy second stop. Rizzo from the very back of the grid, out for more positions behind the Mercedes of Johnson. Previously an AM class competitor, he's been promoted. Depending on your view of promotion, he's been promoted from leading AM class to battling over 8th and 9th in pro. Which one would you rather?
We are showing it here on our timing for about 6 laps to go, so it is. Just going to see these guys come over the Brickyard section and well and truly dark now. Just see some of the lighting. A lot of the crowd there sitting in the dark.
Here we go. Rizzo, Capel, also flying up through the field. Capel was one of the last drivers to stop. Whoa! And he hits Rizzo. Rizzo's half spun. He straightens Rizzo up. He's trying to redress, but every good supercar fan knows what happens when you try to redress in a pack like that.
Yeah. What a save. It was caught it as well there on those live pitches there, which also had, I think it is car 64, John Merritt.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Rizzo's doing a bit of fuel saving. It was a big dive. And the checkup on the left-hand side of the circuit happens there as Capel tries to give the spot back. But there's too many guys right in behind him. And then that's what happens to John Merritt.
It was hard to tell whether or not if he lost it there on his own, but actually catch it there, he's kind of spun right in the middle of the circuit, so thankfully didn't prove to be too much of a roadblock for the cars behind him.
Merritt's right back into it, having passed Tom Wilkinson there. Battle continues. Hayden Veld, leading AM class, has a pro fight all up in his mirrors. Rizzo, Capel, Tyson Broad, Adam Funslow as well.
Say there for Hayden Veld, even though a little bit further down than maybe where
Oh, and he's off the circuit.
Oh no.
Did you see the force feedback on his face? I swear I did. I swear he nearly lost an eyebrow to the feedback as his car skipped across the grass. He's going to lose some spots here, but what he needs to do is not lose his head because he's leading AM class. He needs to keep it on the road and keep his priorities a little straight. So Rizzo and Capel have gone through in the overall. Tyson Broad won't want to hang about behind him either.
Just say it seems to be just enough of a long enough race where you just see that little bit of that fatigue getting in. It's kind of when these mistakes really start to show, to rear their head.
And if I was Hayden Veld, I'd make sure I take that doll down and put it in a locked box before I try to go to bed. That's certainly the safe way to do it. Things are closing up just a little bit here as well with Sebastian Flock, Brad Watson, and Matthew Bowler. Bowler had a pretty long second stop. And he did stop one lap earlier than the two in front. So I wonder if he can come back at them a little bit at this phase of the race. He didn't on the last lap. Really into the tyre wear phase of the race, where if Porsches are holding on to the tyres better than Mercedes or Audis, we'll hopefully start to notice.
You'd have to say surely that this group for battle for that fourth might just be a little bit split too far apart. I think it's about maybe about a second or a second and a half splitting all these three, but it can only take one mistake.
Pro Points Championship will be pretty interesting after this one, because Dylan O'Shea came in with a 100-point lead and hasn't scored particularly well at Indy. Brad Watson second, Lachlan Capel third, and Marcus Watson fourth in those points championships. They're all having a pretty good day. The Watsons, for sure, scoring pretty consistently here, just based on how they run at the moment. And you're 1.5 laps to go in this one, because I get the feeling Kobe Williams is going to pick up the white flag next time. So you don't got long to sort this one if you're these guys. Oh, whoa, really loose moment in the change of direction for Sebastian Floch. No rear end stability from the Lamborghini. Brad Watson get pretty close, but didn't give him a shot at attacking. Tyson Broad gets by Hayden Veld. Adam Funslow wants to be next. It's not Veld's battle as the AM leader. Trust us, Barney's in there somewhere, and he's got a white flag out for Kobe Williams. Oh, yeah, there he is. Up there, doing his work. Towards the big braking zone of turn number 1. I think there's just enough car length in this one, but Bowler was bravest of the bunch. Rizzo charge brings him up towards Matthew Johnson. Different lines to set them up through this next segment. Rizzo looks close enough to have an attack on the final lap. Status quo up front as well. Kobe Williams leads 8.5 seconds from Marcus Watson, getting away from Dan Yeaman, and then here Rizzo all over Matthew Johnson. Where can he pass though between now and the end of the race? It's got to be in the next corner. Kobe Williams will take the win, just walking away from all of them after the first lap. Marcus Watson, good points haul. He's happy with that one. Yeaman in third. Well, looks happy enough with that one. Floch, Watson, Bowler don't look like they're going to change behind Rizzo. Not able to get past Johnson. In fact, he's dropped back. Dropped back considerably. Has he got enough fuel to get to the line just enough to hold off Capel, Tyson Broad, Hayden Veld, and Adam Funslow? One of our few Ferraris, while they're battling each other, and in typical Ferrari strategy, Chu Kang gets fed a little bit by Tim Orty. I think Kobe Williams is still taking a victory lap somewhere out there in the dark. And he deserves it. 8.5 seconds. It was more before the rounds of pit stops. He knew he didn't need to play conservative with it, so he made sure he took plenty. And it still gave him an 8.5 second win from Marcus Watson, Daniel Yeaman, Sebastian Flock, Brad Watson, Matthew Bowler, Luke Turner, Matthew Johnson, Ross Rizzo and Lachlan Capel. Hot knives through a lot of butter, 28 and 22 positions gained respectively in that one after a rough race one.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyson Broad just missing out on our top 10 though, but Hayden Veld, I believe our Pro-Am winner there, Adam Funzlo, Joshua Fitz, Stephen Tonkin, our second of our Pro-Am, Timothy Harris in our third, John Merritt, Tom Wilkinson, Christopher Henn, as we did see there with that unfortunate luck there, and Luke Fitt rounding out our top 20.
Deeper into a little more of the AM field, Sam Lehman, Gustavo Cirillo, Jordan Ferguson, Derek Audie in one of the Ferraris, Richard Brookfield, Chu Kang, Jeffrey Wang came into this round with a great position in the AM points, and it's dropped a little bit for him here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Ahead of Ben Jeffrey, who also had a good points standing. Then Tim Orty, the last car on the lead lap. Adam Jepson drops off the lead lap, and so does Tony Baker and Harry Lawrence, who was very brave with the fuel initially, but then got stung for speeding on pit lane, and that is a big penalty around this place. Retirements from race 2, the feature. Brady Buchanan, Brandon Groch, Dylan O'Shea, Pro points leader coming into this round, as well as Phil Orty, Glenn Riddle, and Alex Court. Retirements. See if we can't get a hold on our winner. Do it myself. Kobe Williams joins us. Let's wind back to the start of that feature race then. You start a little deeper on the grid, 4 wide, a hole opens, you decide to go for it.
Yeah, I just tried to make the most of the opportunity. I saw the gap, so I had a crack, and it obviously paid off.
And did the lead you have affect how much fuel you took? Did you put a little more comfort factor into those numbers?
Yeah, definitely. I added a couple extra litres. The guys were they were telling me a fuel number, so I just added a couple of litres extra on top, and I still had a lot more, too much at the end, so yeah.
At these prices, you're crazy. Tell us about the different cars then, though, because we saw a few of the Mercedes just seem to struggle with the rear end stability, maybe especially in the slow corners. Were you fighting that at all in the longer race and the tyre wear?
A little bit. I was trying to just conserve my tyres as much as I could while still doing relatively fast laps, and it definitely was a bit loose, but the car definitely felt really good off the corners.
Well, congratulations. You're not quite in the overall points, but anything could happen. We saw Dylan O'Shea leading, have some retirements then in this race.
Yeah, I'm a bit far behind. I missed the first round, but I hopefully can use that as my drop round, and hopefully that will get us right back up into the points.
Well, we'll see, and the races come quick and fast every week in this championship, so we'll blink and it'll be the end of Season 8.
Yeah, definitely. It goes fast, doesn't it?
Kobe, pretty thin on the all-green car, but is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Oh, I'd just like to thank the guys at AusPass for the great series, you guys for the stream, and the mates for having a good time while racing.
Too easy.
Yes, thank you.
Well, Nick, give us your thoughts then from one world-famous motor racing circuit to the next. We leave Indianapolis Motor Speedway behind, and we look forward to the mountain next time out.
Yeah, absolutely. So So awesome. Always seeing the GT3 cars come around here at Bathurst. Very different. I don't think we'll see so many people being able to make those big, maybe like plus 20 gains. It's such a narrow across the top of the mountain. So yeah, we'll have to see how it all plays out.
Indeed we will. You'll see it all here on SimSpeed TV. So make sure you're subscribed. And of course, big thanks to simrigs.com, title partner of AusPass for Season 8. It's a delicious looking calendar. Can't wait to bring you the rest of it, starting with Bathurst next week.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God.
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go.
Oh no.
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?